Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at some great UK thrash albums and we're going to start right now. So in recent years, UK thrash has returned in a big way with both new and old bands in the name of high quality thrash and delivering some of the best work since the glory days of the late 80s. A snarling, slashy beast of an album, Shrapnel's debut, The Virus Conspires, was an instant win back in 2014, released on Candlelight Records. These Norwich natives had already jumped on much of their peers but had also had the songs to back up the hype, tanking their modern sounding yet retro, acknowledging cues from the likes of Creator, Sodom and even Exodus. They were as hard as they come. Fortunately, Shrapnel have never sounded brutal for brutality's sake, and there was enough variety dispersed amongst their fashion rage to keep this outstanding debut consistently interesting, an auspicious start indeed. Solitary are probably the vanguards of the UK thrash scene and have been around since 1994 and releasing some of Incinery material during thrash metal's more fallen periods. Gaps in between their albums have been relatively long, but past beat, it was great to see them back in 2020 with the follow-up to 2017's Diseased Heart of Society, and hopes of a ball-crushing exercise in UK thrash brutality were high. Such was the quality of the previous releases, with the plenty of variety and a true sense of purpose and focus. The likes of the title track delivered a pummeling experience, one which gets better with each spin. That being said, the truth behind the lies is probably a grower. It's an immediate thrash fix which speaks volumes for Solidarity's songwriting and performances across the board. Together with producer Simon Emery, he's worked with the likes of Morpheus, Napalm Death, Paradise Lost, and so on. Solidarity pushed themselves to the limit and released the most consistent, most convincing album of their career to date. A bold statement considering how damn good the Diseased Heart of Society was, but it's clear that the truth behind the lies is Solitary's magnum opus. An undiluted thrash album with plenty to say, and the songs clearly back it up. Gama may have been leading the UK thrash revival charge before the release of Five Serpent's Teeth, but it was Five Serpent's Teeth that they truly became their own entity and global thrash force in their own right. Sure, you can still hear plenty of Metallica, Testament and even Slayer in their sound, but this was Evile finally finding their feet and delivering an album worthy of highest accolades. Featuring stunning guitar work throughout, this collection of songs arguably remains the greatest of Evile's career, with their lofty ambitions shining through. Backed by a set of massive, menacing and most importantly diverse tracks, Evile were thinking big with this album and the likes of the title track and songs like Cult and Eternal Empire. It delivered the goods on every level. Let's face it, rewind the clock to back around about 20 years and these guys would have been in the big leagues. That's how good this album really is. Once touted as UK's thrash's answer to Metallica, not quite there. Xentrix embraced an Americanized sound and their cold, crisp riffing, mid-paced, thrashing and Chris Atlee's confident below originally elevated them to the upper echelons of the UK thrash scene. The good news is that Xentrix in 2019 still sounded like Xentrix in 1990 and their recognizable sound was out front and centre throughout, albeit modernized for today's audience, without Chris Atlee at the helm. Bury the Pain exhibited a seamless flow led by a huge grasp of melody and penchant for delivering an endless parade of solid, bruising, thrash deities. And Xentrix's scintillating combination of Metallica and the UK's own Onslaught, along with a little Testament thrown in for good measure. They truly took the flight on There Will Be Consequences and The Rhythm Descends. While a lack of diversity may irk some new listeners, it is clear that Xentrix were by no means playing catch up with the rest of thrash metal's Renaissance crew, and remain that Bury the Pain is simply the sound of a tight unit excelling at their own perfected brand of semi-melodic, mostly mid-tempo, kick-ass thrash. This is probably old school thrash at its finest. Evilution Apocalypse is an honest as they come, 100 straight up thrash album which honors both Virus past and their influences, which include classic Exodus and Vio-lence, while defiantly signalling a future which deserves to be brighter than their somewhat checkered past. Full of ideas, this restless savage of an album and lives and dies by its externity, devilish sense of humour and direct approach, and Virus sure as hell can't be accused of playing it safe with this one. The reboots of old classics, Force Recon and released The Dead aside, this new material ticked all the Thrash boxes as Coke and the Boys brought forth technicality and brutality to the fore. Highlights? Well, let's look at the scathing rhetoric and satisfying crunch of Go, Father, Scum and Unholy, and the classic Thrash sounds of multiple orgasms, songs that are, and potentially the best of Coke's and Virus's career. The UK's ongoing Thrash renaissance hits new highs with the release of Reign of Fury's sophomore album back in 2015. Reigning in the fury somewhat, the band delivered an exceptional melodic thrash record that contained the resonant choppy riffs, gang vocals, varied tempo changes that all thrashers look forward to, with each track clocking in at around 6 minutes or more. This was an album to binge on rather than take quick bites, but two songs in particular warrant special attention: Gates of Sanity and Death Be Thy Shepherd. Thrashed hard, and the inclusion of choppily like death growls and deep-throated screams took things to a whole nother level completely. Highly reminiscent of the all-out riff spares and lengthy compositions found on Metallica's And Justice for All, and even Onslaught's penally undervalued In Search of Sanity and Dark Angel's sprawling Time Does Not Heal. There's no denying that the sense of unwavering confidence is on display, as evidenced by Bravo Moore of booking in this mammoth effort. These two tracks that clocked in at normal 20 seconds, 20 minutes between them. Also recommended here are Exercise Reality. It sounds different, but in a good way. When bands bounce back, not only from a relatively long leave of absence, but with an album that completely surpasses their previous output, is a reason to rejoice. And rejoice we did when we heard Thrash's Regime's Carnival of Monsters back in 2018. A simply sublime slab of thrash from a band who bounced back in a big way. Thrash's Regime sounded like Anthrax one minute, Onslaught the next, and there was even a crossover edge to the blistering Attack, as gang vocals and lightning fast riffs indulged every thrash fan's want on wing. Aggressive yet melodic, it's safe to say that Thrash's Regime delivered a stone cold rolling classic in the making, so sharp and focused were Carnival of Monsters 11 tracks. An absolute effing beast of an album, a Godzilla thrashed monster, a Frankenstein-esque assembling of thrash metal's finest moments, a carnival of absolute monsters, and don't forget about fearful symmetry. Onslaught were pretty much a UK thrash institution. In fact, Onslaught are a thrash institution regardless of where they are in the world. From the 780s release, The Force, an album that at the time probably rivals Slayer's in ferocity stakes, to the brilliant mainstream courting In Search of Sanity, and onto their 3 albums post 2004, Onslaught have always delivered nothing but thrash gold. But with revered frontman Psychelo gone, Generation Antichrist could have been as a make or break album for these guys. Such was the form with the singer's formidable presence. Fortunately, Dave Garnett equipped himself remarkably while honouring the tones of Psychelo while avoiding mere mimicry. This could have been a thankless task, but much in the same way as Xentrix's Jay Walsh ably filled in for the shoes of Chris Attlee. So Dave rose and moved admirably to the occasion. In this aspect, relief was tangible because it meant that they could concentrate less on a new band member and more on their actual music, which was caustic and nihilistically thrilling as ever. Short, sharp, Shabby's opener, which is Rise to Power, was a crushing, and yes, as you expect, with these dogs of war seeking to rebuild their army and marching to modern metal glory, with the thrashing ringing in their ears. 8 tracks of blistering old school thrash with my modern sheen then followed, and all delivered in the manner we continue to adore with respect ever to the comeback album Killing Peace, Flawless 2007. Also don't forget about 6. Now when Acid Rain announced that a new album was coming, it was fair to say that all thrashers around were tripping their tits up at the thought of a new release from these cold legends. Hopes were uniformly high after the quality of their 2 singles that presented the release of The Age of Entitlement, Plan of the Damned, and The Man Who Became Himself. It didn't, if you don't already know, but in actuality, The Age of Entitlement went on to exceed any and all expectations by a huge margin. It was interesting to see that neither Plan of the Damned or Man Who Became Himself featured on the album, and honestly speaking, this decision made the singles even more special and made the album even better. And those tracks were all, and we do mean all, outstanding. New Low was heavy, angry, pacey, and all to a catchy as hell chorus. while Sense of Independence began with a little Mark Jackson wizardry on the drums before launching into just under 4 minutes of thrashy mayhem. Pace was played with, convention was toyed with by Acid Rain simply delivered the best of Shrapnel album 2019. Annihilated was one of the UK's biggest thrash bands, but may have marked their return from the long self-imposed sabbatical 2010's Scorch Earth policy and 2013's Idevium. But in 2015, Antisocial's Engineering, they upped the ante considerably with the introduction of Master Walter Raids, Danny B on guitar appearing to crystallize Annihilated sound considerably. This ultimately left those also familiar UK Slayer comparisons utterly redundant, and in any case, Antisocial Engineering shat all over Slayer's repentance debates we had there, which was released the same year. If anything, the same song on Antisocial's Engineering have only improved with age, proving particularly politically accurate. Their power is palpable, and the dystopian nature of not only the cover-up but the entire concept feels eerily present 5 years on. Annihilated's punk origin still rang true in psycho-snarling vocal delivery and barbarous social commentary, but this was blissfully one of Thrash through and through. They Lie, We Die, and Seas of Red were an opening combo of considerable rhetorical Annihilated's rhythm section looking into colossal grooves, while pure thrash riffs were peeled off at a dizzying rate. Stripped back and bloodily raw, Zombie 13 and the Evile Congregation and Torn by the Tooth were mid-album killers, all continuing the savage thrash attack and avoiding the deluded status of filler, but it was on Thrashing Crew where Antisocial Engineering reached the zenith. Thrashing Crew can officially be added to the list of ultimate thrash anthems. They call to arms Ralph's Megadeth Rattlehead, a testament into the pit, and even Exodus's Bonded by Blood. Featuring guest vocals from Cy Keeler and even Coke Finley and even Jason McLaughlin, UK thrash could not have been represented any better, and remains, even the song Thrashing Crew remains a pit-inducing whirlwind of lacerating riffs and larynx ripping vocals. Vultures was another carcass shredder, but it was built around some incredible kick drum work, and while I Am the Beholder was the kind of epic closing track, the cream of the thrash bands that used to deliver So Damn Well in the 1980s. A suffocatingly crushing blast which builds into the intensity and speeds of increased cycle vocals becomes even more feral. This emerged track is the perfect way to close an old school thrash album that furiously embraces an older audience desire for face-moving riffs and 100% committed performances. Now, if you want a finally accurate snapshot of modern life in the UK and beyond, set a backdrop to Listerine Steve in UK thrash. Look no further than Antisocial Engineering, and quite simply the finest UK thrash album in recent years. Now, in the description, I'm going to leave some other honourable mentions in terms of UK thrash metal albums that you can look and check out. And if I missed out anything, let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.